Okay, today is the 12th of March, but you won't hear this until this is the part where I wasn't prepared, so I have to look at my calendar. The 17th of March, so Monday. Today's Wednesday. I just had a fantastic conversation with Richell of System76's. I don't think he needs a ton of explanation, right, of who that is, because I'm pretty sure if you're listening to Coda Radio, you at least know in passing the System76's. A lot of cool stuff going on there. We talked about their new ARM-powered Thelios, although they do have AMD Thelios. My personal favorite, the launch keyboard. Of course, Earth Day Challenge, the Mad Botters Earth Day Challenge, Thelio giveaway, and launch keyboard giveaway. Go ahead and check the notes if you are a middle school or high school student. His wonderful dog made an appearance, which is very sweet. I know a lot of you are pet owners. And yeah, there is, we couldn't get through an episode of Coda Radio without mentioning Rust, though, could we? Because you guys, you crab people, man, you guys are everywhere. I don't understand how you've become so ubiquitous. You're like, if anybody remembers the old kids' books, Animorphs, you're like the Zerg. You're just, any one of us could be secretly a Rust developer, and we don't know. So it's a great conversation, definitely worth listening to. We go in quite a bit of detail about kind of the development process of Cosmic, which, if you don't know, they make a Ubuntu. I always want to say Spin. You can't say Spin because Spin is a specific thing to Canonical. But like an Ubuntu variant called Pop. Cosmic is a desktop environment that can either, almost like a KDE or a GNOME, that can be run on top of Pop, Ubuntu, Fedora, Arch, and I would bet my hat Nix too, even though I don't touch Nix. But I know you guys love your Arch Nix. A lot of cool stuff. I discovered live on the show that I indeed am running the current Cosmic because it updated as part of just a general apt update. So that was surprising. I thought I had held it back, but I didn't. So it's really, and that would be Alpha 6. It's really a testament to the quality there that I did a 2-version update of my DE on my travel machine and didn't notice, right? It didn't cause me any hassle. I haven't been seeing restarts, and I use that my little dev one quite a bit because I'm frankly horrified of spilling something into my expensive Mac, especially because AppleCare runs out next year. So this is a great conversation. We do have a little bit of housekeeping. I normally want to save the feedback for the end of the month, but we got one anonymous piece of feedback from someone at Ionic. I verified this person does indeed work there, but they, for reasons that make a lot of sense, did not want to be named. Just for their anonymity, I'm not going to read it verbatim. I'm going to summarize it. You'll recall that a few weeks back, I had stated that Ionic was basically dead after being acquired. That is apparently not entirely true. Some of the paid services, I think they call that AppFlow or something like that, are dying, right? They're dead. But there is still a lot of work and a lot of dev time being spent on the open source parts of Ionic. That would be some of the Ionic CSS classes, things like that, but also Capacitor, which I think is the kind of the most important part of the whole Ionic stack. If you don't know, Capacitor basically lets you do native functionality via HTML5 JavaScript for mobile. I know that is a gross simplification. It does more than that, but the point is it is not dead. The open source project's continuing, and with a little bit of risk of reading into what this person was saying, they're kind of wanting to make a little bit of a splash when they're ready. So that makes sense, right? That would definitely, answer is the wrong word, but that would definitely explain the radio silence over the last few months. And that's good because I have tons of customers who are running Ionic apps. So I really do not want it to be dead. If you are doing mobile development or you're a web developer and are interested in being on mobile, Ionic is a good choice. Now that I'm aware that it's being supported still, I see no reason not to use it. Obviously, if you prefer React or insert, there's so many of these things, right? Just insert your preferred stack here. By all means, bums your uncle, go for it. Other pieces of housekeeping before I know I'm making you wait for the goodness that is Carl, because this is honestly was so much fun to do. But you have to deal with the housekeeping first. You gotta, as Jordan Peterson would tell you, make your bed, but maybe don't listen to him all the time. He's kind of something real bad seems to have happened to him in Russia. Yeah, Russia. Maybe not where you want to go for your medical care that's illegal in your home country. No offense, Russians, but whatever he did was not a good idea. The Discord is going well. I am strongly considering just getting rid of the subreddit because I keep forgetting to check it. There's not a ton of activity, but I feel like it's kind of mean that I keep missing it. And it's not intentional. If you post it in the subreddit, it's not me being a jerk. It's just that there is so much activity in the various rooms in the Discord channel that I could easily, especially on the weekends if I'm not working, if my kid's with grandma or something, I could easily just sit and work while hanging out in the Discord. And there's so much there. That brings me to my next point. You are totally welcome to share what you're working on. Don't get yourself in trouble, right? Don't share proprietary stuff with your employer. We have a room for that. I think it's called Showcase, and people are already doing that, so it's fine. I'm sure some of our Linux users will share their funky desktops. But yeah, by all means, knock yourself out. Last thing. Yep, I am putting up the feedback thread. I will probably do that this weekend. If you put something in that thread, I am assuming you're okay with your username being read out, right? If you don't want your username read out, just say so. You can in your thing. And you can always email me or fill out the form on the coder.show, whatever the URL is. And that's fine too. But you do have to tell me if you don't want your username or name read out, just like our friend from Ionic did, right? That this person was like, please keep me anonymous, and I will take the extra step to keep you anonymous. We also got some great feedback on the episode with Nick Proud over at Nexbotics, the RPA company. I forgot to mention, is our first guest from the UK, at least in years, although I think that might be a lie. It in years is true. So that's fun. I have a lot of other interviews that are actually already in the can because I kind of overdid it. So it's going to range the gamut here. We've got a really fun game developer who I think will be aired in 2 weeks. We've got an entire thing on C++ from a pro C++ perspective. So I know I'm not trying to steam the crabs here, but we do have one. I am scheduling at this rate. It's probably going to be in the summer. Some Rust evangelists. And yes, I'm calling them evangelists because that's what they are. Carl and I also discussed that, and it's great. It's I will say I joke around about the Rust people all being John the Baptist quite a bit. But if you have not looked at Rust, particularly if you haven't looked in a couple years, you are doing yourself a disservice, especially if you're already like a C++ developer or a C developer. It has come a long way, partially thanks to the folks at System76 who've done just a lot of work on GUI stuff in Rust. So I would encourage you to look. I'm going to go now and do curls with my C++ programming book because I feel like I smell like a crapjack after saying that. So kidding, guys. Kidding aside, I'm going to let you all enjoy the conversation with Carl. He's a great guy. I can't stress this enough. Then nobody's paying me for this, right? They are not paying me. They should. I mean, if you want to pay me, I'm just saying I'd be very open to that. If you are in the market for a laptop or particularly a desktop that is running Linux, they're a great choice. I use them all the time. I actually have an unopened. We discussed it in the show. I have two. Someone just sent me an unopened one because they wanted to send me some data. So they did it. I actually have 2 clients who do this now. And I know they both listened. It's fine. I love it because then I get to try the machines and I have to write a review of the machine. It's really good. I also can't recommend enough. I don't know if you can hear this, the clackiness. Launch keyboard. I've had mine since they came out. Works great. Never a problem. And if you're getting old like me, if you're becoming a centrist dad, the RSI issues do start to show up, and the launch keyboard has definitely eased that for me, in that I don't feel like I'm some sort of Birdman hybrid after typing for 3 hours, which I do on my laptop keyboard. So, yay, launch keyboard. All right, I've tortured you for 10 minutes and 11 seconds. So, without further ado, here's Carl. Everything's in the show notes. Bye. And here we have a man that needs absolutely no introduction, straight from the crisp Colorado Rockies. It's Carl from System 76. Carl, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Michael. Appreciate the extremely kind introduction.
Oh no, I appreciate you coming. You're just coming off of Scale. That's that looked like a hell of a party.
Yeah, Scale's a great event. Definitely if you're on the West Coast anywhere, it's a fantastic place to get together with other open source, like-minded folks. But the interesting thing about Scale is it tends to pull people from all over the U.S. and folks from Canada as well. So there's a lot of energy, a lot of great topics, great talks. It's a good community-led event. Great one to go
Nice.
to.
Yeah, I saw you did a round of laser tag with my pals from JB. Who won?
Yeah, unfortunately, the System76 team did not win. JB
Oh,
Broadcasting got us in the end, so we're looking forward to our hopefully a revenge laser tag in Washington when we go up to Linux Fest Northwest.
nice. Yeah, you got to watch that Chris. He's a crack shot. He's like the Wyatt Earp of Seattle.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right, so you have so many new things going on. I have my little handwritten notes here, but I think I want to jump in on what at least people in the Coder Discord here have really been chatting about, and that is your ARM-powered Thelio. Can you tell me a bit about that?
All right, so Thelio Astra is an ARM desktop. What makes it unique when you think about ARM, you're often thinking about a phone or maybe embedded devices, or maybe it's running your TV or maybe a thermostat, stuff like that. But essentially lower powered things. Thelio Astra, on the other hand, is a Threadripper class processor from Ampere. It gets up to 300 to 350 watts. It's exceptionally powerful, up to 128 cores. It's full desktop performance, but on the ARM architecture. So it started out with a number of companies in the automotive industry have interest in doing faster development for their platforms that are going into vehicles, and they were doing cross compiling or emulation or paying for Graviton instances, and Graviton one was too slow. The Graviton instances, as they scale, becomes much more expensive, and with Thelio Astra, they're able to purchase hardware once, and then they can use it continuously for the amount of electricity out of the wall. So it's a good deal for them and makes a big difference in their development cycles.
Awesome. So we're talking, this is really like a full, well, not like it is, in fact, right? A full desktop. This could be your workstation, particularly if you're like that automotive company where you're targeting ARM end devices. I imagine IoT folks, like folks who are working on, I don't know, like you talked about thermostat, right? Embedded ARM devices would get some
Right.
advantage.
Right. Well, those IoT devices, it's really, while it started with automobiles because they were really looking for something, and Ampere had, relationships wanted to put us all together. It's a really broad target for ARM. It's, maybe you're building apps that you want to run on ARM servers in the cloud. Because perhaps it's more efficient for what
Sure.
you're doing. It could be back-end systems for web development. A lot of LLM work is being done on ARM now.
Oh, of course.
Astra supports NVIDIA GPUs, all the way up to performance like A6000 ADAs, and so you can do machine learning on ARM, and then deploy to ARM with. And what you're really looking for there is just lowering the cost of your deployment and queries against your LLMs and things. So yeah, there's a lot of interests from companies that are developing where ARM's their end device.
That's super cool. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And you're not worrying about cross compiling and blah, 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 emulators, all that
Right.
annoying stuff.
Right.
So you also have x86 and regular, right? AMD 64 devices. x86. How old are we here? I'm a little ashamed. I have a brand new laptop of yours sitting in a box.
Yeah.
That someone sent me, and I keep threatening to write a review of. So far, the other one I reviewed, I like a lot. This new one is actually the new, is it lemur or lemur?
Lemur. Yes.
Lemur, like the animal, right?
Like the ringtail lemur. The
Yep.
animal.
Okay.
Yep.
It is I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. You would know your products a lot better than I do. I think this is the sweet spot for most people if they're looking for a Linux-powered laptop, right? It's the form factors. I know visual stuff is terrible on podcasts, but I would call it roughly MacBook Air-ish. Is that fair?
Absolutely. I mean, it weighs less than 2 pounds.
Okay, yeah. So yeah,
And it's all aluminum builds, 14-inch laptop, thin bezels, has a great quality feel, and yet it weighs like it feels like you're picking up a paper notebook. It's just a really, really portable. It has a large battery, so all day battery life. It's a fantastic upgrade. We had the Lemur was it's our most popular 14-inch for a long time, and then after the refresh, it's just taken off even further because I think we learned a lot from their initial design, and we're able to apply what we learned to the new design.
now if I order one right now, what am I getting? Am I getting Pop or Cosmic, or how is that working?
So we're shipping with Pop 2204. That's Pop 2204 is the version that came out in April of 2022. That's the 4 and the 22, how the versioning
Nice.
works.
Yep.
And that's with some people are calling it, I guess, Nosmic now because
Cosmic.
it's our GNOME Cosmic.
Oh, okay.
Essentially, in brief, what we did in 2204, and so it started earlier than that, was we introduced pop shell tiling,
Mhm.
and then when GNOME went to like we had the uh, somewhat, I would kind of radical, but completely different change where workspaces went horizontal and were kind of zoomed out, and where the UX changed pretty dramatically from the horizontal, from the vertical workspaces. At that point, we decided we wanted just to implement the user experience that we had been thinking about, and listening to our customers to try to get a better understanding of what would make their workflow more efficient. So back then we moved the primary function to a launcher where it's very quick to launch applications, switch to different applications, even do quick calculations and things like that on the launcher instead of app library. And the app library is still there, but kind of secondary. And then we have a top panel and a dock and auto hide and horizontal workspaces. So essentially, we built the Cosmic user experience. We were able to test that in GNOME, which that's one of the beautiful things about GNOME's extension system is it's pretty powerful, and even though it has it's has some maintenance issues because you're always trying to keep up with what's changing upstream, but regardless of that, it gives you the opportunity to try things out. So the response was great, and then as we went along, we decided what we'd really like to do is offer Cosmic in that user experience. And not only that, but the ability to adapt your desktop to your workflow and have a lot of different customization into our own desktop. And that'll come in 2204, hopefully soon.
So is
Sure.
all right. Is I'm trying to think of how to put this correctly. Cosmic and Pop are different now, right?
They are, yeah, right. So Pop! OS is our Linux distribution based on Ubuntu. Some of the differences between Pop! OS and Ubuntu are, as a hardware OEM, we need to keep the supported hardware more current than what Ubuntu necessarily requires. And so, for shipping NVIDIA GPUs, like or 5000 series, Pop includes the NVIDIA 570 driver already, for instance. We're working on Mesa or work on AMD 9000 series graphics that requires a new version of Mesa. I think it's Mesa 25, and it requires 6.13 kernel. A lot of that work, and a lot of that distinction is the work that we're doing to enable the hardware that System76 ships. And then the other part is all of the UX, experience that we built into Pop with auto tiling and so forth. And so that's Pop! OS. Cosmic is a desktop environment just like GNOME or KDE or XFCE, any of those where it's not exclusive to Pop by any means. It's actually already available on OpenSUSE, on Fedora, on NixOS, on Arch. So it's a desktop environment that will be shipped by other Linux distributions, and it's actually built intentionally for Linux distributions to be able to modify Cosmic in a way that allows them to brand it and make changes so that they can adapt it to what they feel are the best features and functionality for their users.
Oh, I see. Okay, that makes a ton of sense. So yeah, so pop is I know we can't say spin because that's a very specific thing to Canonical, but pop is based on Ubuntu and Cosmic is effectively a desktop environment. That in theory, I guess you could slap Cosmic on top of like a Fedora, right? Why not?
It's already there, actually.
Oh, see, this is where Mike's behind the
Yeah.
times.
So it's on Fedora. People are running it on Arch, on OpenSUSE, on NixOS. There's packaging across distributions and a lot of really high quality packaging too. I think Fedora has done a really good job. The community in Nix and Arch are doing a great job too. So you can try it out regardless of the distribution you're running.
Yeah, I can say it's pretty nice. Now, I have to confess, I'm still on Alpha 4, and I believe your latest is 6, right?
Are you on Pop? You're running it on Pop?
I'm running it on top of Pop. Yep.
Okay, and then you keep your Pop system up to date
I haven't updated it in a month, but
in a month.
yeah, I generally do.
Okay. Well, if you install Alpha 4 and you just run updates, you're on Alpha 6.
Oh, well then I might be lying.
Yeah, it will
I
just
thought
keep updating for you. The alphas are a well, here's a unique thing about developing and with a distro. When you make a desktop environment and you make a distro, for us, our desktop environment, our Cosmic development is integrated into a CI and integrated into delivery into Pop OS. So as we make updates to Cosmic, it just happens. It just arrives in Pop OS.
wait. Carl, your guys' CI game is so strong that you can CI deploy a desktop environment.
Right. Yeah.
I feel
So
so much
that's
shame right now. I mean,
I
it's
don't think it's too crazy. It's there are a lot of Jenkins scripts and whatnot,
sure.
but yeah, I think if they really wanted to do that, it's not too crazy. But
Yeah,
then
it's been quite stable for me. So I'm
yeah,
running it. You'll get a kick. I'm running it. Remember the of course you remember it was your deal, the HP Dev 1.
yep,
It Let me tell you, Cosmic is really nice on that thing.
yeah. We call Cosmic an alpha, but it's been beta quality for months.
Mm.
Really, it's just that we haven't finished the features that are necessary for us to call it ready to ship to, like our hundreds of thousands of Pop users and System76's customers. 'Cause, we don't want them to feel like there's any step back. And the things that are left today are like, one thing I want just to take a step back on the
Sure.
development part. So, so we've got the CI pipeline that just delivers to Pop. What the alpha tags do is give a point in time for all the other distributions to package.
Oh,
So
interesting.
that's really what those tags are. They're a release that now Arch would, they don't want to build every, like, I mean, we might send a patch to, for Cosmic Files 15 times in one day, as we're developing. And they don't want to, they would like a tag that we say, this is the release. And so that's what those alpha tags do, is give them a point in time where they can pull everything together and package it. But yeah, on what you're saying, that yeah, the stability has been there for quite some time, and now we're at the point where we're completing accessibility features, and then I think we're workspaces need some work, but then it's mostly bug fixes and preparing for release.
That is so cool. Now I won't put you on the spot, but I'm sure you know that I think we can credit or blame depending on what side of the fight you are. Jeremy over there has really been championing Rust in Cosmic. And I can tell you most of the feedback on the show in the last month has been, let's just say people have feelings about Rust. They're both mostly very positive. Like technology wise, I don't think other than when I first started using Linux,
Yeah,
I've seen such evangelicalism, right? Evangelism? I don't know how you say that. Like the Rust folks it's amazing. Every one of them is a John the Baptist for the good news of Rust. Is that you're laughing, but it's true.
I see it. I see it too. It's a very passionate community, and Rust is awesome. I don't think anybody means offense to anybody else.
No, not at all. I
Yeah,
think it's great. I mean, the
yeah,
argument, particularly for the way you guys are using it.
yeah.
No, a desktop environment, it makes a ton of sense.
Oh, what's really cool about building Cosmic in Rust is that this started almost 3 years ago. Um, we started in the ground floor when windowing in Rust didn't really exist to much extent whatsoever. There were very early or young toolkits for writing applications in Rust. There was no text rendering.
Oh, wow.
There was, we had to start by and large, mostly from scratch, and there's a lot of work in with the toolkit we chose, iced, and we built libcosmic on top of iced, which is what provides all of the widgets and responsiveness and all the other features and bells and whistles you want to build an app. But all that was from the ground up. It meant a much longer project because we couldn't just rely on GTK or
Sure.
Flutter or some other toolkit to to do the heavy lifting there. We had to be a big part of that heavy lifting, but it also means, I think, a much more solid foundation for the long run with a pure Rust stack and the right licensing across that too. Because one of the reasons we chose ICE was just because it was a very permissive license with MIT, and there were no differences between commercial usage or community usage. We wanted something more GPL, at least GPL, or more permissive even than that with like MIT.
That makes just a ton of sense. I mean, yeah. Things, Rust has grown so much. It's matured so much, and it feels like a relatively short time.
Yeah, it's been a fun thing to be a part of because
Yeah,
while we at least had control over that, I mean, it didn't mean it extended the time of the project. There are so many things that are outside of your control, like how well is NVIDIA going to work on Wayland, and are they going to get this driver, this feature done? Those things are outside of our control. But as far as Rust has come, a lot of it was at least in our control, and we've gotten lucky on some of the other things. Like NVIDIA support is actually really great and getting polished and pretty well. I think it's production ready on Wayland, where when we started definitely wasn't.
makes
Uh,
sense.
Lots of different considerations building something as broad as a desktop environment, and choosing Rust was a big part of that. Yeah, we did experiments in GTK, and
Oh, you did?
yeah, we made panels and applets. We wanted layer shell, and there were some issues with that because that's a fundamental part of how you compose the Cosmic desktop. But through all those experiments, it still seems worth it to us to kind of work from scratch.
Amazing. That makes it. It did seem like a big lift, but it really has paid off. Just kind of rolling your own for Cosmic. The quality is there.
Yeah, and the difference between adapting our GNOME extensions every 6 months so it works on the new version of GNOME, and that's where we would spend our energy and development cycles and invest in. Um, Instead of that, we've built an entire desktop environment where our energy is going to be in adding new features and solving problems for our users with creative solutions, rather than just par plus a little bit more every 6 months. I think once this is out, you have to keep in mind, I mean, at 3 years time, it's an entire desktop environment that's been written. What can we
That's
do
huge.
for each release? We plan to have annual releases for Cosmic. What we'll be able to achieve annually now that we have this entire foundation.
That's huge. So speaking of achieving things, here's a very sloppy segue because I couldn't figure out a better way to do it. Mad Botter is doing its Earth Day contest again. That means if you are a U.S. high school or middle school student and you want to help stop climate change, which I think, I could tell you, living in Florida, it'd be great if somebody could, do something about that because every year the hurricane season's just getting rougher, like just really bad. You can get a free Thelio, courtesy of the Mad Botter. That's first place. Second place is a launch keyboard, and third place is a launch light keyboard. So the way to get involved in that is look at the show notes. There's a link to the original post. All you have to do is literally any little project that is meant to address climate change, either via education or some kind of engineering, or even like a theoretical, this is a simulation of, I don't know, how quickly Mike's going to drown in the next 5 years if this doesn't stop. Could be a good one. You can see I'm very concerned. By the way, if Florida goes under, all the alligators are migrating north. So Georgia, get ready. They're coming for you. So
Yeah,
yeah, all you
yeah,
have to
that
do is put a public GitHub repo.
go
Go ahead.
ahead. So that is a good enough reason for everybody to please, contribute to, turning around, climate change.
I've been saying this for years on Coder here. Florida is a state you go to if you're not afraid to die. There's
Yeah.
venomous things. There's angry dinosaurs called alligators. I just found out we actually have diseases carried by insects that basically don't exist in the rest of the country. So, you know, Florida for the brave. But we did touch on my favorite product of yours, and I think you can hear it. Would be
The
my
launch keyboard?
oh my god, I love
Yeah.
the launch keyboard. How did you even think to make a keyboard?
Well, one, we thought we could build something pretty special from a quality standpoint and layout and the ability to configure its layout so you can, modify your, where all your keys are. It just makes it cool. I mean, I always change mine, and the nice thing is your layout's saved on the keyboards. You plug it into another desktop, and you have the exact same layout. It's really nice. But in large part, it came from the desire to go from designing, manufacturing Thelio at our factory, and slowly but surely getting to the point where we could start manufacturing laptops as well. And keyboards have some similar characteristics there. Besides, they're pretty thin profile. We bought mills and learned how to do milling, high precision milling. They have high speed USB, so we got to gain experience with high speed circuitry, and how we would mill USB ports onto a thin profile on the side. So all these things were kind of building some institutional knowledge about that we could put forth towards a laptop long term.
Nice, yeah. I right in front of me, I still have. It was one of the first runs you did, I believe. My original launch, I think I have the purple switches. They're loud. And this thing, I had it since you released it, so it's been years. This
Yeah,
thing is solid.
yeah, yeah. It's a quality piece of kit for sure. There's all the little things that we didn't like about keyboards, we made sure we just didn't do. There's,
Oh,
you know, like on a lot of keyboards, there's the plastic tabs on the bottom, and I can't how to tell you how many that are just broken off and
yep.
missing and those type of things. So we don't do that. Instead of that, we do this milled bar of aluminum that's the lifter foot and attaches with high power magnets, and just it feels great when you put it on and lifts it just the right amount. It's never going to break. Even the feet, we worked with a rubber manufacturer to get the chemistry just right, so it wouldn't mar your desktop if you
Mm.
were able to push it across, but it also doesn't really move on your desktop at all. And that's part of the chemistry of the rubber. So all those tiny little details were, and all that thought was put into making a great keyboard for everybody.
That's amazing. Yeah. So, okay, we have the Thelio. You guys are breaking into ARM. Seems like a big success. Cosmic is going gangbusters. What's next? I mean, it seems like you have a lot on your plate.
Yeah, well, at this point, most of our effort, because Cosmic is a huge investment for us.
Sure.
We're still a small company, so to build a desktop environment was a big lift. So most of the company's attention over the next few months is going to be pretty precisely pointed towards a great Cosmic release. Um, so between engineering and marketing and everyone else, we'll be working on that. We have new products coming out that I'm quite excited about. NVIDIA laptops with 5000 series are coming
Oh, wow.
probably mid-April. Would be we've got to do the engineering and quite a bit more work on those models, but we're going to have a very high performance Linux laptops, with NVIDIA 5000 series and Core Ultra processors on the way here in the next 30 days or so. So keep an eye out for those. They're really exciting. Everything's moving to 1610 form factor, which I really like. It gives you gives you more vertical space, which if you're doing development, that's it's precious to have, and
Oh, yeah.
lot nicer than 16.9, I think. I switched recently to a 1610, and your new Lemur is 1610 as well. So you probably noticed the difference. That's coming to the powerful NVIDIA GPU laptops soon too. Let's see what else is going on. We have a new Darter on the way. The new Darter Pro. Darter Pro is a 14-inch laptop, so it's similar to the Lemur that you have. That it's 14-inch. The difference is the Lemur is U class, so that's the more energy efficient mobile processors from Intel, and the Darter is H class, so that's the more powerful mobile processors. So you get a more higher performing processor, but a little bit less battery life. That's the trade off between those. The
Okay.
Darter is being upgraded to Core Ultra 200 series, so we're expecting some good performance improvements with a new. Gosh, what is it? It's Meteor Lake? I forget the code names anymore. Arrow Lake? Maybe it is Arrow Lake for mobile.
I
But
can't remember anymore. Yeah.
yeah, it's some of them. Well, now we're adding so many more AMD models than we did before. That now you're keeping the code names for both of them. Trying to align them with what the ultimate product name becomes. But yeah, so the new Darter's on its way, and new NVIDIA laptops with 5000 series. So all pretty exciting laptops.
Nice. Nice. No, that's all very exciting. Yeah, it really seems like you guys are pretty consistent with the releases, which is it's interesting how I remember the bad old days, right? People struggling in forums. Hey, I'm trying to get Ubuntu installed on this, insert random beige, silver, or whatever laptop. And now it's like, well, you don't even have to do that. You just go to System76, buy one. They're pre-configured. And can you still pick Ubuntu as your installed OS?
Yes, for Ubuntu, we're shipping both Ubuntu
Okay.
22.04 and Ubuntu 24.04.
Okay, so even for like your corporate customer who's maybe a little more conservative and they just want to buy
Right,
like 10 Ubuntu lemurs.
right. Yeah, it takes the business customers are slower to upgrade to the newer releases, and so we've been trying this go around where we offer two Ubuntu releases, and a lot of our business customers have really appreciated that. So it means a lot more engineering work because as I was talking about
Oh,
earlier,
sure.
all that's hardware support comes with newer kernels, newer versions of Mesa, and so forth. And so backporting that and testing it sometimes it becomes very, very difficult because the dependencies start to widen out, and now you're upgrading a lot more than just the kernel to support like AMD 9000 series. But it seems to be a welcome addition to our offering. So we're going to work on keeping that going.
So I'm assuming when the two Ubuntu versions are the latest LTS and just the latest whatever the mainstream is.
Yeah, we do. We're doing Ubuntu LTS releases. So we
Oh,
don't ship the interim releases or the standard release, but our products are supported on those releases. So if if someone prefers to upgrade each 6 months, then they'll be well supported.
very cool. Okay, so last question I always ask everybody now, and it can be anything. Just can't be one of your products, right? One tool you can't live without could be a tool you use for your work. It could be just something fun. It could be it could be your coffee machine, or uh, you know, I know you do a lot of outdoorsy stuff, so it could be something like that.
Yeah. For me, it's my Kindle.
Oh, what a good choice.
Yeah, so I left it in my hotel room when I travel quite a bit. So left it in the hotel room when I actually went back, wasn't there. And the room was clean, but so I was still staying there. And, and the guy said, we don't have it. So that night, because I can't imagine like going to sleep without reading a chapter.
Same.
So it's like so connected or ingrained in my habits that I had to put all the way to Target. They had a Kindle, got one right away because otherwise, just even reading on my phone, it sucks in comparison to e-ink. So lo and behold, the next morning they had my Kindle, so I had two Kindles. But anyway, that's my can't live without tool.
I'm exactly like that. I did something very similar. I was on a trip. I lost my Kindle. I went to, you ever see these Best Buy vending machine kiosks?
Yeah,
They actually had them in there.
oh, that's great.
Yeah, just put in your credit card. It literally pops out a Kindle. Go, yeah.
I'm
It
starting to
was,
feel less alone. You and I, and there are machines specifically to spit out Kindles in case you lose them. That means it must be a lot of people that really.
Oh
Yeah.
man, the last flight I took must have been 2-3 months ago, and at least from where I was sitting, everybody who was awake, which granted about half the people are asleep,
Yeah.
was on a Kindle.
Yeah.
It's like this device is ubiquitous now.
Yeah.
Um,
And it hurts me a little bit, with how much, how deeply I care about open source and the way the
how
Kindle
closed sourced,
works.
yeah, how
Yeah.
very proprietary Amazon is with the yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if you can hear my dog, but sorry,
That's
but
fine. We love
it's
dogs. I have
it's
cats. I
going
have
wild.
dogs. Yeah. What a good dog. All right, so let's wrap it up here. That's a great pick, Carl. You're the first one to pick the Kindle, so I'm happy to hear that. Where can folks find out more? I'm assuming just system76.com, right?
Yeah, System 76 is a great place to see our products and things we're working on. You can find me on X or Blue Sky or Mastodon. It's always just my first name, last name, Carl Richell, and feel free to reach out on any of those. And I'm happy to always talk open source.
Sounds great. Great talking to you, Carl.
All right, you too. Thanks, Michael.
Bye.